Welcome. This is the very first episode of the Happy Raccoon podcast. First of all, before we get too deep into it, I really just want to talk a little bit more about why we're doing the podcast, sort of the general outline of what the podcast might look like in the future. But first of all, I just really want to thank you for listening. Obviously, there's just tons of podcasts for you to choose from. I hope that you make this a part of your weekly listen. That is the goal, for us to be publishing a podcast a week. When I say we, my wife and I are teaming up on this. We're also going to be doing various YouTube series and videos. We're going to be we have a website that we've launched. We're going to be posting some blogs there. We're going to be doing some social media work as well. But we're all kind of building it around this podcast and using this as a platform. And we're really excited. We both we both come from very different backgrounds. I was raised for half my childhood in Papua New Guinea and the rest in California. And she was born in Paraguay and then spent the rest of her childhood in Northeast Pennsylvania. So what that means is that throughout our marriage, we have a lot of really random cultural differences. And we enjoy that a lot. Most of it's just totally fun. But we also have very different friend groups, which is a lot of fun. We have very different families, which can cause complications. But in the recent few years, I moved here a few years ago. Becca and I met about 7 years ago. We got married a few years ago. I moved out here, and so I find that, as I moved out here, I've met all sorts of just fascinating people with different backgrounds and a different life story than I'm used to hearing. And it's fascinating for me. And we just love having people over for coffee and desserts or dinner. And we just love hearing people's life stories. I just find them to be incredible. So over the next several weeks, actually, I'm recording this after already recording a couple of podcasts. This is intention to be episode 1 coming out on Tuesday. But I've already recorded a podcast with a former Amishman who broke Amish as sort of in his early development years when he was an early teenager, I believe, and I interviewed a Anglican pastor. If you have not heard of what the Anglican Church is and you're interested in learning more about that, I had never heard of it prior to meeting him. But he has a really interesting story and a really interesting outlook on Christianity from an Anglican perspective. That's really cool. And so we're going to be putting out a lot of podcasts. Some of it will be just me. Some of it will be me and Becca. And some of it, and hopefully most of it, and a lot of it will be interviewing various people that I have gotten to know since moving here. Again, I have just a fascinating group of people that I know out here that have all sorts of different walks and experiences. I find that a lot of people out here aren't from here. So it's people from around the world. I'm hoping to interview some missionaries. My in-laws are coming home. One family from Paraguay, one from Colombia. Maybe I could talk them into coming on here. But again, the whole idea is to have a lot of fun. We want to push out these podcasts and content. And I'll get to a little bit more of a reason as to why. But really, we're just happy you're here. We really appreciate it. And if this is the last one you listen to, I totally get it. Again, there are so many great podcasts to listen to. No one listens to podcasts more than me that I know of. Spotify does a end of year wrap on the most songs you listen to, how many minutes you spent listening to songs. I spent about 3,000 minutes listening to music. I spent about 30,000 minutes listening to podcasts. I love podcasts. I have probably 24 podcasts that I'm subscribed to, and that I make a part of my daily listen. A lot of them are comedy. Some of them are self-help type podcasts. Some of them are just storytelling podcasts. Some of them are Christian podcasts working through daily verses. All sorts of really cool stuff like that. This is great. I usually listen to podcasts when I'm on the road driving, during slow hours at work. And really whenever I can. I really enjoy listening to podcasts. I find them to be fascinating, and I hope to bring that level of excitement to you guys, whether you like it or not. Again, I just appreciate you being here for this, and so let me break down a little bit as to why we're doing the podcast. So again, I mentioned before, Becca and I both have very diverse backgrounds. We both grew up as missionary kids. I was a missionary kid in Papua New Guinea. My parents were tribal church planners, and I'm sure that over the course of this podcast, I'll share a lot of those stories. And we ended up moving back to the States when I was about 13 or so. And Becca was born in Asuncion. She'd be very proud of me if I said it correctly. And so would her family, but Asuncion, Paraguay. And she moved to the United States when she was about 12, I think. So, but we both have a huge heart for serving others and for missions. And after being married for a few years, having a couple of babies, our timeline is certainly suspicious. But yeah, after spending some time doing that, I remember one day I just sat down with Becca and I said, hey, I want to share with you what's just on my heart. And then we sat down. I remember we sat down on our bed on a weekday evening, and it was after a long day of hustling sales all day at a sales job I was working at the time. And I said, I feel like this just isn't us. And I feel like we both come from families where we were dedicated overseas missionaries. And again, my job was as a missionary kid was just to have the most fun ever. But and I told her that, like, I really want you to pray about pursuing missions. And it's something that I really would love to do. And I think it's something that the Lord has for us. And I would love for you to pray about that. And if this is something that you think is also right for our family, then we can talk about making that move. And she told me, like, oh my gosh, that's so funny, because I was feeling the exact same way. So we had this really cool bonding moment where we both just bonded over the fact that we'd been feeling the same way. And we felt that this is just the Lord calling us in a direction to pursue global missions at some point. Now that comes with a lot of work. It comes with a ton of work. And we're actually starting really late. A lot of, Becca and I, we met at New Tribes Bible Institute, which is now known as Ethnos 360 Bible Institute in Jackson, Michigan. And at the time, she was considering missions, and New Tribes is a great starting point for that. They have their own missions organization. I wasn't. I was just sort of buying time, trying to figure out what it is I'm going to do in life. I ended up leaving after a very short stint. Becca finished and graduated. She would go in a different direction. I would go in a different direction. Our friendship would eventually evolve into a romantic relationship, which moved me out here. And regardless, so that sort of first part there is that I had not finished Bible school. So I will be starting that in the fall. And our goal is to be able to move to Wisconsin as soon as January of 2022 for the spring semester. Why Wisconsin? The location where we initially met in Jackson, that they have closed that building, and they have moved the entire operation to the other campus, which is in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And so, yeah, that's our goal. It's what we're pursuing. And we are doing a lot of different things to get to that point. Again, it's a lot of work. Not only to accomplish the schooling part and the training part and actually getting overseas, but also there's a lot of financial obligations that go into that. We want to go completely debt-free, and we want to go with a lot of school paid for. We don't want to go and just have to work nonstop to keep on top of our bills and keep on top of school. We want to go debt-free. We want to go in a way that we can not only experience the education and the atmosphere the best that we can, but also we have a number one obligation, and that is that we have to raise our two daughters in an extremely critical way. We have committed to raising them a certain way, and we want to be able to maintain that, and we don't think that we can if I'm in school all day and I need to go work all night. We want to be very hands-on, present parents. So all that in a roundabout way, we're going to be producing these podcasts on a weekly basis. The podcasts itself are totally free, and we want you to enjoy them as much as you can, share them as much as you're willing. We're going to have ways for you to comment on things. I want to invite anyone that wants to come on this show to please, you can head to our website, which is happyraccoon.net. Again, .net, not .com. .com is a sketchy website. It's already belongs to someone, but go to .net, happyraccoon.net. There you'll be able to, reserve a spot to come on the podcast. Even if you're not near here, I can get you on the phone. We can do a phone interview. I really want I want to hear from everyone that I can. I want to hear all the stories. I just want to really do this up. And so we're going to have, the podcasts are totally free. I want to have as many guests as I can. I want to hear all of the stories possible. The blogs are going to be coming out. That'll be totally free. However, what we are doing is we're going to use this platform, and we are going to have a Patreon account where you'll be able to contribute to the podcast on a monthly basis, starting as low as, I believe, $3 or $4 a month. And with that, you'll be able to get exclusive content. We're going to be raffling off monthly prizes for a certain tier of contributions. A lot of it's just going to be gift cards and all sorts of really cool stuff. You'll be able to ask us to go over a certain topic. If you want to hear us give a certain take on things, you'll have the liberty to do that. It can be as silly or serious as you want. Haven is going to be sending out some custom finger paintings, as well as a added thank you for contributing. I think there's about 4 different tiers that you can contribute on. So that's going to be a way that we can use this podcast platform to raise funds to be able to pursue our goal of going overseas and to pursue missions and ministry. And we're also going to be selling bars of soap at some point. Beck and I have enjoyed the art and craft of making homemade bars of soap. We really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. We loved for a long time going to like a farmer's market and finding, these fancy bars of soap and we would find, the exfoliating ones, and we just love it. And so we decided, why not make it ourselves? And so we did, and we're going to be selling a soap again to raise funds so we can pursue this. To be extremely frank and honest, with my current salary and our current overhead, it's really, really difficult to make this happen. So not only am I working a full-time job, I'm working side hustles, I'm doing this, and our goal is this spring semester, and that's a tall task. We have a lot of fundraising to do through all these efforts. I don't want to make you feel inclined to contribute. If you do, we're super appreciative. We want to give you guys just the best experience possible. We want to give you the best soap possible. If you want to purchase soap from us, we're just gonna have a ton of fun either way. Even if this contributes nothing, I've had a huge passion for this for a long time. Again, my favorite thing in the world is really just having people over, getting to know them. I love talking. I love listening. A mentor of mine once said that, the greatest things you can do is to listen to understand, not listen to respond. And I just love that. It's something I do often. I just want to hear people's stories, and I want to learn all sorts of new stuff. So again, if you're interested in being a guest, I really want to emphasize that because I really do want to have as many people on this podcast as possible. Head to happyraccoon.net. Again, .net, happyraccoon.net. Fill out a podcast guest form, and I'll be in touch with you, and we'll work out a way to get you on this podcast, whether it be a phone call, whether it be in person if you're in this area. Again, upstate New York people. If you're super far away, I'm more than happy to, or super far away is in maybe an hour or so tops, I'd be more than happy to pay for gas to get you over here. As long as everyone is, of course, COVID free, I would love to make that happen. So again, thank you so much for being here for episode 1. I do have a little bit of content I would love to build out for this first episode, so it's not just an intro to the podcast. But again, I really wanted to get out of the way just how appreciative I am and how appreciative Becca is for you being here for episode 1, and I hope that you enjoy your Enjoy your stay. The goal is to do these every Tuesday. If I miss and it comes out on a Wednesday or something like that, that is to be expected. I am a father of two, working about 2.5, 3 jobs right now, trying to make this dream of pursuing missions a reality. So, again, thanks so much. Let's get right into the podcast. So, being that today I'm recording on Valentine's Day, and we're shooting to release this Tuesday. So I've got some editing work I got to do tonight. I wanted to make a series as I try and force myself to make content by myself. I wanted to make a series to pull out my favorite news article of the week. My favorite one by far is that a Florida man in his 40s was arrested for proposing to a girlfriend with rings he stole from his other girlfriend that she had from a previous marriage. So while you sort all of that out in your head, I'll break it down for you. So basically this guy, I think his name is Joseph. It sounds like a Joseph thing to do, to be honest with you. He has a girlfriend. He has 2 girlfriends. Apparently he's got a lot of time on his hands. He stole jewelry amounting in, I have it noted here, $6,270 worth of jewelry. Some of it was an engagement ring, a wedding band, and then this woman's grandmother's jewelry who had passed away. So obviously really valuable stuff. I'm sure that the $6,000 is just an insurance number. I'm sure the value on it from a person basis is probably much more. But this guy, so he's dating this girl, and he's dating another girl, and clearly he has a preference as to which one he likes more, because then he goes and he steals an engagement ring and a wedding band from his girlfriend. Now that engagement ring and wedding band belonged to his girlfriend from a previous marriage. So these are some really classy people we're talking about here. So he steals the engagement ring and wedding band from her that she had from a previous marriage. He also stole that woman's grandmother's jewelry, and then he used that to propose to another woman. And this woman said yes and was ecstatic as possible. And so while she was engaged, this woman who was stolen from went on Facebook, I believe, and searched around and found that someone else was wearing her stolen, lost engagement ring and wedding band. And she put 2 and 2 together and found out that her boyfriend was engaged to another woman. And I honestly, being that this is Valentine's Day, this just felt so fitting, because I think that is just absolutely amazing. First of all, how does this guy have that much time on his hands? I have one wife, and that is all I'm able to handle. I do not have the capacity to be a Mormon. I am not capable of multiple wives. I am barely capable of my 2 children. I am exhausted all the time, and this man somehow managed to have a fiance and a girlfriend at the same time. And the best part of this is that he's from Florida. Now, if you don't know this, Florida is where some of the strangest people are at. If you watched Tiger King, which came out right at the peak of the quarantine for COVID-19, Tiger Man features a gay redneck guy who wears sparkly boots and cowboy hat, who has multiple husbands, and he has a tiger zoo, I guess, where it's basically tigers, and I think it's called the GW Zoo, and I think they're in, I want to say Kentucky, but that sounds wrong. I'm not sure. No, they're Oklahoma. They're in Oklahoma, and there's a whole lot of characters, all these people. And honestly, I remember thinking to myself, there's no way that I live in the same country as these people. I just can't be. Because everywhere I've ever lived in this country, I've lived in foreign countries and have heard of less interesting and strange people than that. A gay, gun-toting redneck with multiple husbands, teeth falling out. He has bullet hole tattoos all over him. And over the course of this docuseries, if you haven't seen it, there is a woman down in Florida that this man, spoiler alert coming up, 3, 2, 1, here comes a spoiler. So this guy, Joe Exotic is his name, because of course it's Joe Exotic. Again, Joseph, like I said before. Joe Exotic orders the murder of Carol Baskin in Florida, of course, again, Florida. And she is highly suspected to have killed her husband from several years ago. There's another man named Doc Antle, who he is, I want to say in Georgia. he also has tons of tigers and multiple wives, and he calls himself like a spiritual doctor or something like that. Anyway, there's just no way that these people are real. I love reality TV. You'll hear me say that 150 times over again. I love reality TV because there's just no way that these people are real. They just can't be real. But anyways, it just makes the most sense that there would be a mention of Florida. Florida is strange man capital of the world. It has to be. In fact, there is a challenge, internet challenge, of you can look up your birthday and then Florida man, and Google will then show you an article of some of the strangest articles you'll ever see in the news, and it's about a Florida man, and it happened on your birthday. So enjoy that wherever you are right now. If you're listening to this on Spotify, go to your Safari or your Google Chrome app on your phone and look up your birthday and then Florida man, and I want to hear what the article was, and post it on my social media. By the way, you can follow us on social media. There's my selfless plug there. Anyways, so my Florida man challenge is, I actually wrote it down. I looked it up. Florida man, that's how every news article starts, by the way. Florida man burns house down after trying to cook or trying to bake cookies drunk and naked. That man is a national treasure, and it's happened to the best of us, probably. Not me, but some people it's probably happened to. So a man burns his house down after being butt naked trying to bake cookies. Now, I've never went into the culinary field, and I've never combined that with nudity myself. I've tried to cook fully clothed. In fact, I often burn myself, so I find myself wearing as many clothes as possible because the oil will spit all over my arms. But being so bold as to bake cookies completely naked, that is... honestly, it takes a lot of confidence to do that. I wish I had that level of confidence because I don't. That level of confidence is something I often seek. But he burnt his house down, so he probably won't be as confident in the future. And that to me is just, Anyways, I would love to hear what your Florida man challenge is. Becca's is, I wrote it down, Florida man destroys wasp nest with bare hands. That is easily the most my wife Florida man challenge I've ever heard, because my wife she's a stud and she gets things done like that. So it doesn't surprise me at all that's her Florida man challenge, because that's something that she probably would do. She would either shoot it with a shotgun probably, or she would do it with her bare hands. Actually, she's really bad with guns. She has one of the worst shots I've ever seen. And she'll probably listen to this. So here's a story of my wife and the time she tried to shoot our 12 gauge shotgun. So when I moved here to this area that I live in, which is New York, I thought that everywhere in states like California and New York that are a little bit stronger on gun control and things like that, I thought the process to buy a gun was like, I thought it took forever. It turns out I can just go in and buy a shotgun and then walk out the door. To me, I prefer a little bit more background checks on that. I personally didn't. I went in to Dick's Sporting Goods and I said, "Hi, I'd like to begin the process to purchase a gun." And he said, "Okay, do you know what gun you want?" And I said, "Not yet, but I would like to start the paperwork." And he said, "Okay, that's not how it works." I'm like, "Okay, tell me how it works." He said, "Okay, you pick out the gun you want and we see what kind of class it is, and then you fill out this paperwork. And then once you pass the background check, then you buy the gun and you walk out." And I said, "Oh, that's very strange. Okay, how long is the background check?" And he said, "About 7 minutes. And I couldn't believe it, because I went in there fully expecting to have a background check that lasted 2 weeks. I expected them to call references or something, and they would find, okay, Mason is somewhat responsible. He can own a 12 gauge Remington 870 pump action shotgun. What happened instead was I filled out information with an old address, by the way. The address on my ID, they said to put the address that's on my ID. I did. It's an old address. I have one of the best, I don't think I have it on me. I don't have it on me. I have one of the best driver's license pictures of all time. And so I haven't changed it because I don't want to change my picture because it looks so good. But anyway, so I was able to buy a shotgun in a few minutes. So I wanted to do a bunch of research to find which one I wanted. I never owned a gun before. I wanted one for house or for home protection and possibly turkey hunting. Turkey hunting has gone very poorly. I have not even shot at one yet, and it's been 2 seasons. But anyway, so I thought, okay, a 10 gauge is the lowest number of gauge, so it must be like the least powerful one, or so I thought. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll get this 10 gauge shotgun probably, and that sounds like a good number. It'll be sort of like a low recoil. It won't kill me, anything like that. And the store clerk kind of said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And come to find out that's actually not how it works. The 20 gauge, the higher the number goes, the weaker the shotgun it is, to put it in simpler terms. So I ended up buying a 12 gauge. It's a classic shotgun. It's one you hear of in movies all the time. So I bought a 12 gauge shotgun. Now, to me, the shotgun was very normal looking in size. I forget that Becca is about 70% smaller than the average person. She barely stands up to like my torso. She makes me look incredibly tall, which is great because I'm barely cracking 5'9", if that. Anyway, so I bring the shotgun home, and it just goes in the safe for a while. Fall comes around, and we have a pumpkin, and then fall leaves, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to shoot the pumpkin in the backyard with the shotgun. When I say backyard, for all my folks in California, I don't have any neighbors for many, many yards from me. We don't have neighbors like we do in California. A lot of space in between, so that's no problem, right? I have a bunch of country, probably maybe about 50 acres or so of just wooded lands behind my house. So I thought that's a great spot to fire a shotgun. So anyways, I put this pumpkin out there, and I thought to myself, you know what would be great? I ought to have Becca shoot it because I want to see if she can actually do it. So I get Becca, and we grab this 12 gauge. I load it up for her, and I take her into the backyard, and I have her probably, my guess, maybe 15 feet away from this pumpkin that is laying there innocently on the ground. Not even carved. We didn't even carve it. We're too lazy to carve it. So Becca yields up this shotgun barely, right? It's just kind of like, barely hanging on to this thing. It's about her height, total her height. And she is like a basketball, like Shaquille O'Neal's height away from this pumpkin. I mean, it's right there. I mean, you can't miss it. And it's a spread shotgun. I mean, the spread is in itself is like a foot in diameter. And she yields this big old shotgun, and boom, she shoots, and she misses the pumpkin entirely. Just misses it. I don't know if it went over or under. I probably went over because it didn't mess up the ground or anything. But she misses this pumpkin, and that's the only time she's ever shot it. So if anyone ever breaks into our house and I'm not here, we're in big trouble because Becca can't handle a 12 gauge shotgun. I really need to get a small barrel 20 gauge shotgun that she can actually shoot. But to miss a pumpkin at 7 feet distance with a 1 foot diameter spread shotgun, whatever it is, probably that close, it's not that much, but it's one of my favorite stories to tell because she gets really embarrassed and it's really funny. But I don't know where I'm going with this. I really have no idea where I was going with that at all. And this is probably going to happen a lot. We're just going to ride this thing out. It's going to be random. I have no idea why I went to the shotgun. I'm looking at my notes. Oh, because she would shoot the wasp nest. Okay, that's what I was getting at. All right, so I'm not that far off. Yeah, so she would shoot the wasp nest, but she'd probably miss because she can't handle a gun to save her life. And that's a really big problem because that's when you need a gun, is to save your life, quite frankly, with you. Anyways, you should definitely do your My Florida Challenge. I'm going to wrap this episode up. This is a really quick one. Mainly just wanted to focus on the introduction. I wanted to share my favorite news story from the week and a story with you guys. Again, head to happyraccoon.net. Read a little bit more about our story, our goals, about our family. Look into... if you feel inclined, you want to contribute to the podcast, if you want to look into buying our soaps. The soaps are not ready yet. I don't think they'll be ready by Tuesday. We aren't taking orders yet. We're still testing our recipe. We're working on some packaging stuff, but that'll be happening soon. You'll be able to purchase soap right off our website, and we'll ship it right to your door. You can get it in bulk amounts. You can get it just a few. I think probably the least we'll sell is probably 3 bars. Because we want to make sure it's worthy. You want to send you 1 bar of soap, you got to pay shipping and everything on it. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but all that to say, learn more about us, head to happyraccoon.net. I really appreciate you guys listening to this. This is a really exciting thing for us. I've been wanting to do this for, Becca and I had that conversation about wanting to go into missions over 2 years ago, maybe like a year and a half ago. And I've been talking about doing this since then as a way that we can make this happen. Since having that discussion, we have gotten no closer. COVID has not been kind to us financially. We've lost a lot of money over the last year from shutdowns. My own business that I was running is completely obsolete because of COVID. And that's okay. We're rolling with the punches. But one thing we do know for sure is that God is good. He is providing. And we wanted to do this as another way that we can make this happen. And if you feel so inclined to contribute, I really appreciate it. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I look forward to next Tuesday. We have some great episodes coming up. We have, again, my interview with Mervin Stoltzfuz, I believe. And he told me how to pronounce it, but I may have forgotten it. But Mervin will be on. He's telling me all sorts of cool stories about the Amish people. He's breaking down a lot of the stereotypes for me. Also going to be interviewing one of my best friends in the world, John Groves, who is an Anglican church pastor. He has a fascinating story. We have a really great conversation that's very funny, and then he shares a lot of great information on the Anglican church that I think everyone should hear. If you hear that thumping, you might not. I don't know what this mic is going to pick up or not, but that's my 1-year-old telling me that it's time to come and play. So anyways, it is indeed. It's my favorite thing to do in the whole world. My dad is visiting this week. I might interview him. He might have some interesting stuff to say. He's got a pretty fascinating story as well. So maybe that'll be happening. Regardless, I would love it if the Happy Raccoon podcast became a part of your weekly listen. I hope you enjoy this one. And again, head to happyraccoon.net to learn more about what we're doing, how you can contribute. And again, if you want to be a guest on the show, feel free to reach out to me there. So thank you so much again, and we'll go ahead and call this an episode 1. Thanks.